Good evening. Masechet Moed Katan Daf Amud Aleph 16a1. Says the Gemara. Rava says, "Menalan de meshadrinan shlicha bedina mezamnin leledina." How do we know that we send a shliach bedin and we are going to tell somebody to send them a summons? You know what a summons is? You tell them to come to bedin. It says in a pasuk, "Yishlach Moshe likro l'tam Yamin Eliyav." Moshe Rabbeinu sent to call to the Tam Aviram ben Eliyav to come to him. So the fact that he told them to come to him, he was summoning them. And therefore they have to come to bedin, to court. How do we know that we're going to be mazmin to din? Right? You and all your people, which means that how do we know that they're going to be mazminim the nidon? That means that the defendant has to be there. So he says, Korach, you and all your people. So says the Gemara, how do we know, right, that we have to tell him that he has to come in front of a Dayan Ploni, that he's an Adam Gadol? It's in front of Hashem. So the fact that he says it's in front of Hashem, he has to come. At Uplania, it says, how do we know that we have to say you and so and so? Which means you have to mention who are all the different people in. So says the Gemara, At Uplania, the Kavinan Zimna, how do you know you have to make a time on the Bedin? Meaning you can't just send a letter of summons. You have to send in front of who are you going to be summoned in front of? Which Dayanim, big Dayanim? Who's the other person, the litigant or the other person against you? You have to say the time. How do we know? Diktiv machar, but it's written tomorrow. Zimna batar zimna. How do we know that you have to do it a few times? Diktiv karu sham laparo melech mitzrayim shaon he'avir hamoed. Which means that what happens if he doesn't come the first time? You have to put a second time. So imagine. Yeah, I come and I say, you have to come to Bedin tomorrow. You don't show up. How do I know I tell you to come again? Because of this pasuk. How do we know that if he's going to be mecharef the shliach bedin, which means he comes and he starts cursing out the shliach bedin? Imagine, we're a bedin. We send somebody, call this guy, tell him he has to come. He comes, he starts cursing him out. How do he says, Lo mitchazek li shavida. How do we know that if he comes back and he tells him, it's not considered lashon hara? Tichtiv va'anei ha'anashim ha'ele tenaker. Va'anei ha'anashim ha'em tenaker. Vayichal Moshe, he was upset. Which means, how did Moshe Rabbeinu know that the Tam Aviram were all chatzufim, were chutzpan? They had audacity. How do we know they had the chutzpah? Because the Shliach Bedin went and he told Moshe Rabbeinu. So the fact that they tell him Moshe Rabbeinu, they tell the Dayanim, there's no problem of lashon hara.
But they had the problem.
Now, how do we know that we are going to put people in nidui? Which means that if he doesn't want to come to Bedin, we excommunicate them. Oru meroz. What does that mean? Meroz was put into excommunication because he didn't come to Devorah and Barak, right, to go to war against the Canaanim. So the fact that he didn't go, he was put into excommunication. Tehachi svara, he says, V'dachi savra de gavra rabba. So how do we know that it's a dat of Adam Gadol, which means you have to put him in Idui in the name of an Adam Gadol? How do we know that? It says in a pasuk, Amar Malach Hashem. Says the Malach of Hashem. Uminala de Mecharamina. How do we know that we're going to put him into a cherem? It says in a pasuk, Oru Arur. Right? What does it mean, Oru Arur? That you put him into a cherem, which is like a double expression of. It says over here, even though the Lashon Arur is also in a regular nidui, right? It's a curse, but that's what it is. So he says, therefore the Gemara is going to say that it's talking about like a nidui, but it's more for a cherem. Remember, cherem is more stricter than a nidui, because cherem is minimum of 60 days. The most is cherem. Nidui is a little bit before. Excommunication. The achil v'shati bade. So he said, how do we know that they're coming? And you could even eat and drink with him, and also to stand within the 4 amot with him. Which means even the people that eat with him and drink with him, you could put them in cherem. Meaning you're not only putting in cherem this guy that he's going against the bedin, anybody that eats with him and drinks with him, you put him in cherem as well.
But how long?
Whatever the time it is, you put them in cherem as well. Why? Because they were sitting in somebody that is chayav cherem, so therefore they're also chayav cherem. How do we know that we come and we tell everybody his sin? Meaning we're going to go in all the Bate Knesiot and all Bate Midrashot, we're going to say, this person did this. How do we know that? It says in a pasuk, they didn't come to the Ezrat Hashem, which means Barak came out and he blew the shofar 400 times and he put him into cherem. That's how you put him in cherem. You come, you blow the shofar, and that's how he came and he put him into cherem. Other people say that Meroz was actually a very great person. He was a tzatz of Hashem and everything. And some people say that he was like Kochav, like the Mazal of Sisra. The Mazal of Sisra, that the stars did not come. So he put a star. Some people say it was a very great person, and some people say it was a star, and he didn't come to Barak. So they went and they put him into cherem. How do we know that we put all his properties? We put them in hefker. We make them ownerless. It says anybody that doesn't come for the 3 days with the advice of the sarim, the zekenim, they come and they're put in cherem, all his properties. And he's going to be separated from the Kahala Gola, from the Gola. How do we know that we're going to be arguing with him? Which means they come and they start fighting with him. And they curse them out. We hit them. We come to Tolshim the Sear, they make him swear. All these things. You're going to fight with them, you're going to curse them, you're going to hit them, you're going to pull out their hair, and you're going to make them swear. How do we know that we come and we tie them up? We put them in jail. We like chase them. What does it mean the shirshi? You're running after them. You have to run at, you pursue them. We put him in nidui immediately. Vishonin, we put him in another nidui after 30 yom. Umachrimin, but we put him in cherem after 60 days. Meaning that cherem is after 60 days. Nidui is the beginning. So first you put a person in nidui. After nidui, you put a person into cherem. Amale Ravuna Barachinana, says Ravuna Barachinana. Hachi Amar Rav Chasad, as Rav Chasad says, Matrim be'sheni v'chamishi v'sheni. We warn them on Monday, Thursday, Monday. B'yom sheni, chamishi v'sheni. If they don't listen, that's when we come and we start putting them in the nidui and we do the seder. Hanimile, but when is this only? Lemamona, for money. Avalef kiruta, but somebody that's mitchatzef, that he has chutzpah against the people that are learning Torah, lealtar, they don't wait. Meaning for money, if you don't want to pay a debt, and the Bedin say you're chayav to pay, and the guy says, I don't want to pay. They wait. Monday, Thursday, Monday, they do this. Somebody that's mitchatzef, that goes against the people that learn Torah, is chutzpah, immediately, boom, right away. Nidui. There's nidui. Nidui and then cherem. Right? Nidui, right away. There's no waiting. Ha'u tabacha. Yeah, it says over here, the tabacha, it was a butcher, yeah, or a tabach, a kitchen, right, a cook. He was mitchatzef against Rav Tuvi bar Matna. Imnu aleh Abai v'Rava. So Abai v'Rava, they came. They wanted to look into it. B'shamtu, they put him in nidui. So then he went and he appeased him. Amar Abai says, what are we going to do? If we're going to permit it, it wasn't for 30 days yet. Lo lishalev, we're not going to permit it. Kabau Rabbanan lemeal. Says what? The rabbis want to, go to buy meat and they don't have meat. Amalel Ravidi Barav, and they went to the Did you ever hear? Because they thought that it had to be a minimum of 30 days of nidui. And therefore, even though he went and he appeased the guy within the 30 days, they said, what? Can we actually take it off now? Amalei says, Amar Shmuel, this is Rav Tafni Barav, he says the name of Shmuel. Tut asar ve'tut shari. What is the sound of the shofar? Tut, 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 tut. So the tut of the shofar was the one that permitted him, that prohibited him, and it's the same one that's going to permit him, which means you're allowed to take away the nidui. That means even though it wasn't for 30 days, you could still take away the nidui. Yeah, you could take him out with a shofar. But that's only for money. But to do with being chatzuf against the people that are learning Torah, you need 30 days. So this is another stringency of that somebody that goes against the rabbis. If somebody goes against the rabbis, minimum of 30 days. He could go and appease the rabbi the next day. But the second they put him in nidui, that's it. Gamarnu, 30 days. Even today. By the way, it happens today. It happens today. So you see from here, Kasava Rabbi Abaya holds, Hani Betlata the Shamitu, if you have three people, three judges, that they put somebody in nidui, lo atu tlat acharim shel, no three other people could come and permit that nidui. Meaning the second he was put into nidui, other people cannot permit the nidui. He himself has to come and he has to permit the nidui. Because they asked the following question. Hani betlata the shamitu, these three people that they came and they put in nidui, mahu lemete tlata acharim shel, can you bring another three people and permit? So it says the Gemara, Tashema menudel rav, menudel tamid. Menudel tamid and menudel rav. Says if somebody is in nidui from the rabbi, automatically he's in nidui for the students as well. But the other way around, no. Meaning if a student came and put somebody in nidui, it doesn't mean that the rabbi put the guy in nidui. Menudele anshe iro, menudele idacheret. If it's going to be for the people of his own city, so for other people as well. But if it's going to be for other people, not for his own city. Menudele nasi, if he's going to be put in nidui by a nasi, it's menudeh to all of Israel, to everybody in Israel. Menudeh lechol Yisrael, it wasn't menudeh to nasi, but nasi is a higher level. If one of the students put somebody in nidui and he died, that student died, his part cannot be annulled by anybody else. I mean, that's it. The guy stays in nidui.
And then
Yeah, that means the student died, and the student was one of the people that put him in nidui. Come on, doesn't know what's talking about. Yeah. So Shema Minatzla, we learn from here three things. Shema Mina shetamid shenida lichvodo niduyo nidui. Even if a student comes and put in somebody in nidui because of his own kavod, it's still a nidui. Shema Mina, we learn from here that each person could come and annul his own portion. Ushma Mina, we also learn hani betrata the shmitu that if three people they come and they put in nidui, nobody else could come and annul it. Amar Amima says Yilchata what's halacha? Hane betlata the shamitu, three people that they come and they put into nidui. Atu betlata achrim shalole, they could come. That means three other people could come and permit the nidui. So Amar le Ravashi Lamima, what are you talking about? I thought you said no. V'atanyam Shimon Gamliel Omer. My love, we're not talking about that he wasn't annulled at all. Meaning, even if one of the students they put into nidui and they died, gamarnu, that's it. This is sof pasuk. Says no. They need three other people to come and to take him out. There's no nidui less than 30 days. There's no nizifa. Nizifa is a lower level of nidui, less than 7 days. Even though there's no proof, there's a remembrance switch. The father came and she spit in his face. He's going to spit in her face. This is talking about by Miriam, when she was put in Nizifa because she became like a Metzorah for speaking Lashon Hara against Moshe Rabbeinu. Amar Rav Chassa says Nidui Shelanu is like Nizifa of Bnei Eretz Yisrael. And Nizifa Didu Shiva V'Tulo, what says Nizifa is only 7 days. But Rav Shimon Bar Rebbe, Ubar Kapara V'Yehuda V'Kagasi, they were saying Kasha Lehu Shmata. They had a question. Amal Rabbi Shimon Bar Kapara says Rabbi Shimon to Bar Kapara. Davar Zet Tzarich Rebbe. We need Rebbe to come and to answer this question. Amal Bar Kapara Rabbi Shimon. Umar Rebbe Omer B'Davar. What do you say about this? Azal Amale Lavua, he went and he said to his father, Ikpad, he was Makpid. So he went and he wanted to show himself. Amale Bar Kapara, I don't know you. He gave him a hint, I don't want to see you. Yadan and Akam in Tabini, so he understood that he was very upset. So Nahag Nazifutu Benashim Tlatin means so he went and he did Nazifut on himself, right, for 30 days. So you see from here, the Nazifut is 30 days, not 7 days. You understood what happened? One more time. Rabbi Shimon, the son of Rebbe, the Rabbi Yudanasi, and Bar Kapara were sitting and learning. They had a question. So they went and they told, Rabbi Shimon went and he told Bar Kapara, we need Rebbe to answer such a question. So Bar Kapara told Rabbi Shimon, what does Rebbe say in such a case? Which means there's nobody that knows how to answer this. So he went and he told his father, meaning Rabbi Shimon went and he told his father what Bar Kapara said. So then when he came, he went and he said, I don't know you. Bar Kapara went and he said, Rebbe said to Bar Kapara, I don't know you. What? Well, obviously, that's a whole question. It's actually a very good question. Let me see here. So it says here, Rabbi Shimon did not have kavanah to say Lashon Hara, but rather he was saying it lefi tumo, which means that he was just saying it, even though there's a chavetz chaim on this, that it's not that simple, right? But basically, there's a whole question here.
That's not to get offended, you get offended too much.
Another time it happened because Rabbi he went and he said that they're not allowed to come and teach in a public. My darash, what did he say? Just like the thigh is in private, right? 16b. So too divrei Torah should be in private. It shouldn't be in the public. So Rabbi Chia went and he taught to his two children, to his two brothers, right? To his nephews in the marketplace. L'Rav u'Rav Barachana. Shama Rebbe heard what Rabbi Chia did. And he was makpid. Ata Reb Chia letchuzile. So Reb Chia went to Rebbe. Amale, he said, Iya, mikore lecha b'chutz. Iya. He was saying Iya instead of Chia. He went and he said, who's calling you outside? Which means he was calling him like in a derogatory way. He said, somebody's calling you outside. So Yadad and Akam he knew that he was upset at him. So he went and he did 30 days. On the 30th day, he went and he sent him. He says, come to me. Then he went and he told him, no, don't come. So what happened? What happened? At the beginning, he held that a little bit of the day is the entire day. He said, no, we don't say mitzat yom kikulo, which means you have to wait until the end of the day, and then he was able to come. At the end, he came. Amar Lei, he says, Amaita, why did you come? Amar Lei, because you told me to come. But then I went and said you not to come. Amar Lei, I only saw the first one, I didn't see the first one, the second one. Meaning, I only saw the messenger that told me to come. I didn't see the messenger that told me not to come. So he called on him, that means basically it was a derech of Rabbi Chia that is always good in the eyes of Hashem. So therefore he made it in such a way that he was going to come. So my so asked him, why did he do that? Amale, he says, it's written in Pasuk, Chochmat b'chotz taruna. You have to let out the Chochmah in the outside. You have to sing the Chochmah of Hashem in the outside. So he says, Amale, he says, in Karita lo Shanita, if you learned it once, you didn't repeat it again. In Shanita, if you learned it twice, lo Shita, you didn't learn it a third time. In Shilashta, if you learned it a third time, lo pirshu lecha, they didn't explain it to you properly. Chochmat b'chutz taruna, kiderava like Rava. Rava says, Kol ha'oseh b'torah mibifnim. Anybody that learns Torah in the Bet HaMidrash, Torato machrezet alav b'chutz. It's going to be being mifursem in oto ba'olam, which means that the person, it's not on the Adam, on the human being, that you have to teach Torah in the outside. The Chokhmah itself, it's going to be called, meaning that when a person comes and he's learning Torah, everybody's going to know that he's a big Chacham. That's what it means. It doesn't mean that you have to teach Chokhmah b'chutz. Meaning, don't go outside in the universities and start teaching Torah. No, it means that you're learning Torah here. And then everyone's going to say, this guy's a big Chacham. This guy's a big Chacham. Okay, ba'aktiv, it's written, lo merosh masetet dibarti. So it's mashma that divrei Torah, you have to do it bagalui, which means it shouldn't be masetet hidingly. It should be publicly. So no, ha'obi Moed Katan. On the days which are public, drashot, which was once in a while, there you're right, it was given publicly, but normally no. Reb Chia, what does he do with the pasuk chamukei rechayich? What does he do with it? Because it has to be like the thigh, which is hidden. So he says, Mokila b'tzedakah gemilut chasadim. He learned it on tzedakah and gemilut chasadim. When a person does tzedakah or a person does gemilut chasadim, what is he supposed to do? He has to do it privately, that nobody knows about it. Alma, so you see from here, Nezifat yomin. Nezifat is considered 30 days. So in the answer to the Gemara, Nezifat Nasi Shani. No, Rebbe was a Nasi. So since Rebbe was a Nasi, his Nezifah was 30 days. But usually a regular Nezifah is only going to be 7 days. So how much is our Nezifah? Chad Yoma, 1 day. He had the Shmuel Mulukwa just like Shmuel Mulukwa. Because they were learning Torah. Mulukwa was in front of Shmuel. 4 amot, just like a student in front of a rabbi. Okay, but Shmuel was greater than him. They were sitting down in the deen. Shmuel was in front of Mulukwa. Why? Because it was opposite. Because Mulukwa was Av Beti. And they made a place for Mulukwa in Tzipita, which means in a makom namuch, right, like on a lower place. And he was sitting on top of it in order that the words of Shmuel could be heard to him. Okay, which means that when it was a higher place, but they made it lower so he could hear the words of Shmuel. So every day Mulukwa used to accompany Shmuel until the place where he used to sleep. One day he was in the middle of the deen. Shmuel was coming after him. When he got to his house, right? He went and he said, what, it's not late? Like he was trying to give him a hint, right? That you didn't go long enough. Right? I'm going to permit him from his deen, right? And then give me permission to go to my Echsanya. So he knew that he was upset at him. Right? That means Mulukwa understood that Shmuel was upset at him. So he went and he took on himself 1 day of Nezifuta, that he was upset. There was a story of a woman that she was sitting in the place, right, which the public were sitting there. The public have a pashta kar'ah, and she was coming and she was putting her feet in order that basically people would have to go around her. She extended her feet, so people had to go around her. And she was coming and she was putting winnowing seorim klufim, barley which was peeled. And the rabbis were going there. And she didn't care. She made them go around. Amar, look how chatzuf this woman is. What's she doing? They came in front of Nachman. Amar, and he said, did you hear any nidui come out of his mouth? Amrale, she said, no. Amala, he told her, go do nizifuta for yourself, right, for one day. Why? Because it's ki'ilu the mamash, you should do one day of the nizifuta.
It wasn't that about the woman because she believed.
Zutra Bartuvia kapasik sidra kamed Rav Yehuda. So Zutra Bartuvia was learning Pesukim in front of Rav Yehuda. Kimatalai Pesukim, when he got to the Pesuk Vele Divre David Acharonim, Amalei, when he said Acharonim ika what? There's Acharonim means there's Rishonim. What are the Rishonim? My meaning. So Shatik V'Lomale V'Lomadi, he didn't say anything. So Hadar Amalei, then he told them Acharonim Mikal Dika Rishonim. Obviously there's Rishonim. So what is Rishonim? Amale, he told him, what do you think? What? If you don't know an explanation of one pasuk, you're not a great person. He knew. That means basically what happened was he asked the question once and he didn't answer him. So he asked the question again. So he went and he told him what? Because I don't understand this pasuk, so now I'm not a great rabbi. So he understood that he got upset. So now again he took upon himself for one day to be in excommunication. However, though, when we speak about what is the Acharonim, what are the Rishonim? By the David David, listen to this Gemara. This Gemara is strong. Listen how careful. David, Shirata Omer al Mapalato shel Shaul. David HaMelech, you're singing a song on the fact that Shaul comes, right? And he's, how do you call it? And the downfall of Shaul. Well, you're singing a song at his downfall. In Maleata Shaul David. If you were Shaul and he was David, Ibati Kama David Mifanav. I would have gotten a few. Who's a bigger tzaddik? Shaul HaMelech. Look in Rashi. Rashi says, Ata Shaul. Ibata Kama David Shehu Tzaddik Mimcha. Rashi says, who's a bigger tzaddik? Shaul was a bigger tzaddik than David HaMelech. So it's a mifurash.
Yeah, but he killed 400 Kohanim.
Doesn't matter, but he was a bigger tzaddik. We give a shiur on that. An entire shiur on that, why he was a bigger tzaddik. Shaul HaMelech was a bigger tzaddik than David HaMelech. But he lost the entire kingdom for one sin. And David HaMelech didn't because of the other thing. I know the and that's what it means in the pasuk. What does that mean? David is saying that he was right, that he was coming and he made a shkaga, he made a mistake, that he started singing about Kush ben Yemini. What is Yemini? Benjamin, Sheva Benjamin. Kush Shemo, his name is Shaul. The Kushi is different in his skin, right? So too, Shaul HaMelech was so different. Why? Why was he so different? Because, right, he was Meshuneh b'ma'asav, he was such a tzaddik. That's what you say. One second. Just like you say, Alodota Isha Kashukushit. It says by Miriam and Aaron, they spoke about Moshe, about the Isha Kushit. Who is the Isha Kushit? Tzipora. Kushit Shema, Tzipora Shema. Elama Kushi Meshunem Borav, Tzipora Meshunem Maseh. Meaning, just like the Kushi is different in its skin color, so too Tzipora was so different in her actions that she was such a tzaddik. So the same thing. So too we say V'yishma Eved HaMelech Kushi V'chi Kushi Shemo what? The Eved HaMelech HaKushi, the slave of the Melech HaKushi. Kushi was his name, Tzidkiyahu was his name. Elama Kushi Meshunem no, Tzidkiyahu was also Meshunem Ma'asav. Meaning Tzidkiyahu was such a tzaddik, therefore it was different. The Bnei Yisrael are Kushim. Kushim Shemanu. We're Yisrael Shema. Elama Kushi Meshunem Urev Yisrael Meshunim B'Maaseh Mikolomot, which means we are different than all the nations in our actions. Amar Rashum Bar Nachman ben Yonatan. My dictate was in the pasuk Neum David ben Yishai Neum Gefer Ukam Al Neum David ben Yishai Shekim Ula Shel Teshuvah. David HaMelech started a reign of Teshuvah, right? A movement of Teshuvah. Amar Elokei Yisrael Dibet Zuri Yisrael Moshe Be'adam Tzadik Moshe Yirat Elokim. My Kamar, what does this mean in the pasuk? Amar Rabbi Avu Haki Kamar. This is what David HaMelech said. Amar Elokei Yisrael Li Diber. Hashem spoke to me. Tzur Yisrael ani, that I am the Tzur Yisrael. Moshel ba'adam, I'm in charge of it. Mi Moshel bi, the tzaddik is Moshel bi. Shani gozer gezerah, umvatla. HaKadosh Baruch Hu can make a gezerah, but the tzaddik is mevatel the gezerah. The tzaddik can come and he can be mevatel the gezerah of Hashem. Hashem makes a gezerah, but the tzaddik can come and he can annul the gezerah. Eile shemot hagiburim shel David yoshev b'shevet. My kama, what does this mean in this pasuk? Amar Rabbi Yavu Hakim, and this is what it means in the pasuk. Ve'ele shemot gevurotav shel David. These are the action, the names of the actions of the gevurotav shel David, which means the actions of Anava from David HaMelech. Yoshev b'shevet, he was always sitting on a lower place. V'shasha yoshev b'shiva, when he was sitting and learning Torah, lo yoshev b'geburim. He wasn't sitting down on pillows and he used to sit on the ground. That all the time his rabbi, Ira Haya'iri. Okay, that's one of the names of his rabbis. Kayam, Rabbanan. They used to teach the rabbis. But once he passed away, David HaMelech used to teach the Chachamim. Needs to learn in the Karka. They told him, let him go sit on Karim Sador. He didn't want. He didn't want to sit down. He didn't want to show that he's higher up than everybody else. Tachkemoni. Amar Rav says Rav, Amar lo Kadosh Baruch Hu leDavid. Hoil v'ishpalta et atzmecha, since you lowered yourself. Tehe kamoni, you have to be like me. Shani, you will be like me. Shani gozer gezerah v'atam vatla. I'm going to make a gezerah and you're going to annul it. Rosh HaShalishim, what does it mean Rosh HaShalishim? Ter Rosh l'shloshet avot. You're going to be the head of the three of the avot. Hu edonia etzonim kishay yoshev atzah b'torah yamaden yitzvok. He used to bend himself like a tolat, like a worm, when he used to learn Torah. Mushash said when he used to come out to war, he used to make himself strong, like a wood, like a tree. On 801 shot, he used to shoot one bow, one arrow, and he used to take down 800 people in one time. And then, right, he used to say, Chaval that I didn't take off another 200. Just like one person is going to run after 1,000. It was only because of Uriah Chiti, right, that you weren't a tzaddik gamur. Meaning only because of that, he didn't fall 1,000 people. If it wasn't for the fact that he would have fallen, if he wouldn't have fallen down because of Uriah Chiti, he would have shot the arrow and 1,000 people would have died. But because of the sin of Uriah Chiti and Batsheva, so only 800 people used to die, not 1,000 people. Amar Rabbi Tanchum mered Rabbi Chia ish Kvarako, Amar Rabbi Yaakov Baracha, Amar Rabbi Sinai, Amar Rabbi Tanchum, Amar Rabbi Huna, Amar Rabbi Huna lechudeh on himself. Talmid shenizal lichvodo yudzai lemudalev 17:1. A talmid that does nidui for his own respect, niduyo nidur. The time was going to the right time, nudel Rav, nudel Talmid, nudel Talmid, and nudel Rav. La Rav nudel. For his own rabbi, it's not nudel, but for everybody else, it is going to be nidui. Lemai, right? Nudel lemai. If you're going to tell me it's mila dishmaya for things of Hashem, en chokhmah v'entuna v'natzel neged Hashem, which means that a rabbi cannot go against something. If the student put him into nidui because of something that he went against Hashem, the rabbi cannot say, for me, it's not nidui. Why? You can't do that against Hashem. And it had to be for his own kavod. We continue with Zrat Hashem.